The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
We enter round 3 with both championships tied up. And while we have a good idea of who has the speed, the real test has been managing the constant chaos of this vintage multi-class series. Today's race here in California will be another where that rare skill is taken to the extreme. A lack of passing opportunities and few long straights make Sonoma a tricky beast for this combination of cars. Some will be left sipping the wine in celebration, while others will be using it to forget their woes. As we get ready to watch round 3 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Nick, Sonoma has gone by a lot of names over the years, but one thing has stayed the same. This is one difficult and technical track.
Oh, absolutely, Joe. The rolling mountains and vineyards that make up the heart of California wine country is exactly where you'll find us today, Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California. And those hills don't just stop where they built a racetrack. They built the racetrack on top of the hills and in the valleys, opening the venue in 1968. These twisty, windy turns have played host to several decades of IMSA, IndyCar, and NASCAR history, just to name a few. The Kamel GT series is using the long configuration today, which is 12 turns, spanning 2.5 miles or about 4 kilometers. We talk about multi-class racing every week, and the difference in speeds from the Audi to the Nissan. Today, though, blind rolling turns are going to ramp up the heat created from that already normal amount of intensity we see in this series. To get a better look at that intensity that Sonoma Raceway brings, let's send you down to the track for the GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Sonoma. You might need a little lift through turn 1, but regardless, you've immediately got to start slowing the car so that you can pull it as far left as possible. You're curving and braking for turn 2, which is a balancing act all the way up the hill. Easy get in on the power over the crest and then bring it across for turn 3. This quick chicane compresses on the first half and then really rewards drivers who can straighten out the crest of the second half. You get a little squirt of the gas before you're braking for 4. This downhill bend is deceptively slow and bleeds directly into turn 5. You can't quite get through here flat out, so give a little lift and make sure to bring the car to the right for the carousel. Avoid the temptation to hug the inside all the way down the hill. The more you can straighten it out with a late apex, the better off you'll be now that you're plopped onto the drag strip. The hairpin at 7 is one of the few good places to pass around here, and you don't want to be vulnerable. As you line it up for the braking, though, keep in mind that this has 2 squared off apexes. Be careful not to clout the second one because it can send you onto 2 wheels with a surprising amount of air. Try to straighten out these little S's and really climb over the curbs on the right, then slow up for 8 and 8A. As soon as you're sure the car will grip, apply the power and fly around the inside of turn 9. Keep hugging the left and bleed off some speed with the brakes in a 10. Once again, it's about getting to the power early through here to keep from being vulnerable into the final hairpin. This is the only other decent place to overtake, but it's also a straightforward 180-degree bend. That means most drivers will want to take a very late apex to give themselves a launch. Careful with the pit wall on the exit, then straighten out the last little kink, and hopefully you've now finished the lap around Sonoma.
Welcome back here to Sonoma, and as you can see, that lap really gives you an idea how many blind crests there are as they try to work their way around, which they're doing right now in qualifying. But in the meantime, while we let the times get on the board, let's take a look at the championship situations. Of course, I mentioned in the intro, it is tied for the lead. Gerber and Albrecht have scored the same amount of points so far. Timu Toika jumps up quite a bit. He gets third place for the moment. Vili Raiola not doing too bad now that he's switched over to the prototypes, and Ardo Iamaki you can see dropping all the way from the lead down to 5th because of his bad results that we had at Silverstone. Over in the GTP lights, it is not tied, but still relatively close. Krejcik leading Sakura by about 10 points, but only one between 2nd and 3rd. Sakura and Robanek there fighting hard for 2nd place. Carlos Fonseca currently rounding out the 4 that are competing in the GTP lights. What about the 2 GTO championships? Nick, what are we looking at there?
The GTO Championship also tied, just like the prototypes. Phil Lake and Riley Thompson both at 42 points up front for that lead. Milan Arnozzi is going to be 9 points back, 3rd place. He didn't move at all last week. And then Jamie Hall and Nicholas Makanos just swapped one position last week. They're going to be 11 and 12 points back, respectively. We also have the GTUs, however, which kind of like the prototypes, not as close, but still 4 points only separating Hideki Koivisto and Matthew Jete up there for P1 and 2. Sergey Serbin is in 3rd place with 10 points back, and then there's 3 drivers tied for that 4th place position right now. They are all 12 points back from the leader.
Yeah, it's obviously pretty tight there at the bottom of the GTU Championship. Now, in case we've got any new viewers coming in to watch the Kamel series, here's what we got in store today. It is a sprint race that we are watching, only 40 minutes for round 3. Now, that means that there are no scheduled pit stops that you can expect. That doesn't mean we might still not see drivers who come into the pits to get repairs done in case they run into one another or the wall. Now, the setups are open on the car, and that means that they can tweak anything that the real cars could have tweaked here in the sim. So drivers will definitely want to be doing that to try to get the most out of this very, very technical track with a lot of corners in a short period. Qualifying times have started to roll in. So up at the top right now, we've got Ardo Iamaki. I'm sure he'll want to try and get back to the top of the championship points, and that pole will certainly help him. Justin Albrecht trying to give chase, though, with him being tied for the points lead right now. This seems to be a much better start to the season than we've seen for him. This is Riley Thompson currently running in 2nd in the GTO field. Joni Hagner holds the pole over there, which is pretty par for the course.
Yeah, right now still some drivers making their laps around here. You see Riley Thompson there. We also have Timu Toika making his lap right now, finishing up. Oh, just slipped a little bit on the last turn there, so I might not be able to get up there and contend with Iamaki right now for that lead. But you see Tobias Gerber there finishing his lap up now.
Let's see what Tobias can do. He gets a 1:17.6. His first lap didn't count, so that puts him into 4th. Seems like a lot of drivers having trouble out there today. There's Antti Terho, who moves himself up into 3rd. You mentioned Toika. That was his 2nd lap. He is done for the day. He's not going to have a qualifying time and starts from the back.
Yeah, absolutely know what Toika wants. He's a couple of the drivers in chat even talking about their struggles right now. Really tough racetrack, and it's going to be interesting to see. Not a track you want to have to start at the rear end. Not a great place to be able to make up spots in a 40-minute race.
Ooh, Vili Raiola just took 2nd in the GTO class with a 1:29.6, barely a 10th after Joni Hagner, who's finished his qualifying, so he cannot do better than he has done with his 29.5. Driver who has been doing well, that just finished his, is Milan Arnozzi, who managed to get up to 6th. This is John Keefe that we're watching on screen, the Hoosier. I think, actually, has he completed both his laps? No, this is his 2nd time lap, it looks like. So let's see what John Keefe has got underneath him. He's got about 2 minutes left, which is plenty to try to get this one in. Nick?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to do too much better here. I think he ran into some trouble earlier in the lap. You see he had a 1:19 and already passed that.
Yep, and in fact, he abandons it and heads on in. Stefan Schlacker, who is currently sitting 10th and has finished only one of his 2 laps. Steph, of course, is moved over from the Audis to the Nissans this race, just wanting to feel his options out since he's not really competing for a championship. Adam Lindgren currently sitting 11th. He's going to complete his lap. Let's see if the Northwest driver can do any better than a 1:31.9. Absolutely not. He's about 4 seconds slower that time around. In fact, I'm surprised how many drivers are getting their laps in this late. Usually we see pretty much everybody done this far in, and it's not terribly long laps around here.
Yeah, that might have to do with some of the drivers just running into some trouble. And if you run into trouble early, you can, in theory, restart your lap, basically, here on iRacing. But a couple of the drivers seem to have taken that option, possibly, which is why we're seeing so many late lap times come in here.
Steph Schlacher, let's see what he's got out of the hairpin, getting the power down nice and smoothly, and to the line from 10th, and he does not improve, just a few hundredths behind his previous time. Probably a little bit disappointed in that, if I know Steph. Likes to push himself very hard in this car. So at least he'll start within the top 10, and at least he's got a time in, which I think everybody has got theirs in. So it's time to go to the starting grid here for round 3. On the pole, we've got Ardo Iamaki with Justin Albrecht behind him in second place. And Valtteri Alander comes in to give this a go. He starts from 3rd. Fabian Gerber will be P4 at the drop of the green, with Tobias Gerber following him in 5th. The next row back, Antti Lepisto is on the outside of row 3, starting 6th. Stephen Warkup with a nice qualifying from 7th. New driver Sander Van de Wel starts 8th. Clayton McLeod will be P9, with Stefan Schlacher starting 10th. As we mentioned, Martin Krejcik, great qualifying for him from 11th. Matt Malone joins us from his stream. Welcome to all his viewers. In 12th place was where he'll start. Bronislav Robanek, 13th. John Keefe, 14th. Carlos Fonseca, the last of the drivers to put a time in the Nissans, in 15th. And then it's Thibaut Toika, Jack Hubert, Sebastian Beaudry, Mike Kopak, Ryan Lang, and Tony Kernan all did not get a time in the Nissans. Let's go to the GTOs.
And unlike the Nissans, every single Audi driver here in the GTO class got a time in. Joni Hagner sitting on the pole with Vili Rolla to his outside by about a 1/10 of a second behind them. Riley Thompson, Antti Tero making up row 2. 5th place goes to Phil Lake, who's seen some early success in the season, couple of podiums. Lanar Nosey is going to be to his outside in 27th overall. And then we have Rob Oleniak, Tanner McCullough, Dennis Neidhart, Nicholas Makanos. That'll be your top 10 in the Audis. And then Adam Lindgren, Hideki Koivisto, Lori Mantavara going to be 34th overall. And Mika Kivipuro in 35th overall. 36th, 37th, 38th rounding out the Audis goes to Nathan Lloyd, Michael Haynes, and Ivo Andreni.
So relatively large field, but a little bit smaller than what we've seen in the past here in the Kamel GT series. So hopefully that'll help the headache some. Hopefully you've not got a headache right now, because we want you to continue watching here on the iRacing Esports Network. And especially we want you to subscribe to the IESN, because not only can you find the Kamel GT series, but all the World Championship series, the official World Championship series, now handing out prizes, adding up to $300,000 this 2019 when we turn over this year. So there is a big reason to watch. I think the competition will be upped immensely over there, and you can find it only on IESN. Pace lap starting off as the roof pace car leads them around. Now, Nick, this is one of my big worries. No matter what series come here, this turn 2, it always seems to, at least one car gets caught out on the first lap, it seems like.
Joe, I was just thinking that. Folks, take a look right now. This might be the only clean lap you see side by side early on in this race. But no, all jokes aside, yeah, it's really, really tough to get these cars through here, trying to stay on the power and trying to stay side by side, grabbing some positions early on. And then you head right down in here, down into the carousel in the downhill section, which is just as, if not even harder.
Absolutely. You see the GTO class working their way through turn 4 now, and the carousel that was mentioned, the Nissans are on their way through there. On to the drag strip, one of the few places where you've got a decent bit of speed to gain, at least in a straight line, straight-ish line, I should say. They've got the hairpin to deal with at the end of it. One of the few places where you can expect passes to happen. Now, the curbs generally aren't liked by these Nissans. What about around the track as a whole? Are they mostly compliant around here? Because some of them look pretty shallow.
All of the turns here are going to be really interesting for the Nissan. I really expect them to do well right here through the S's, especially as we see them start to make their way through there. That's going to be really where multi-class traffic gets really hairy, though, especially because the Audis are going to be fairly slow through here, having to get off the power, I'm sure, for a couple of these turns. The Nissans should be able to just hammer down through most of these, and it looks like one of the calmest parts of the track because it's so flat, but in reality, that might be one of the most hectic today.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. Well, the roof pace car is getting ready to peel in with this pit entry being a bit unique. Starts all the way back here before the hairpin, and it's going to give the control to Ardo Iamaki. Let's see what he can do over Justin Albrecht. Couldn't quite finish ahead of him last time. Oh, he gets a great launch, uses it off the hairpin as the green flag waves on round 3, immediately moves himself up ahead. Most of the Nissans look like they are trying to get single file before they get up into the second corner here, which is the first real braking zone they'd experience. I'm not seeing any sort of problems so far, so let's go to the GTO class.
Pretty hectic start as they started right before that turn 11 hairpin. They were going 3, even 4 wide in some parts through there, but they got themselves calmed down really quickly. Joni Hagner keeps the lead. Riley Thompson second. Ville Rolla is going to be third place right now as they go up through the uphill section.
Only a small bit of contact. Nathan Lloyd got into the back of somebody. I'm not quite sure who, but everybody keeps going. Good start here for both classes. Right now, up at the front, it is still Justin Albrecht in second, chasing Iamaki, and he's losing a little bit of touch. Instead, he's got to worry about a lander behind him in third. Weaving their way through the S's for the first time. Down to the nefarious turn 10. Let's see if anybody gets caught out first time at speed through this corner. There's very little runoff on either side.
Yeah, absolutely. Brakes, tires, they're all still cold heading into there. It's real important that they get warmed up before this turn, and most of them looks like they're all going to be pretty clean. A couple of them swinging it just a little bit wide, but other than that, clean so far for the Nissans through there.
Well, now it's even harder for the Audis, who have to get off the power even more. And so far, I'm not seeing anybody getting caught out by that fast sweeper. Right on board with our leader. This is Hagner looking back at Thompson. Coming up after one lap completed back into turn 2 for the second time. Much more calm this time through as the drivers are all sorted out by the time they get there. Got a little bit of a battle happening in the GTP class. Krejcik back in 12th, being followed by Matt Malone. Streamer's got himself a little bit in the mid-pack right now, but very much on the attack, as he's not going to have too many opportunities, now heading back into the S's once again.
This is all about setting up a run down in here to turn 11. You got to get a good run right through the S's and not dip off into the curbing like we saw Malone do there just a little bit. Get a good run set up here, pick up a little bit of slipstream that never hurts, and then dive it into turn 11. And just try to keep all 4 wheels under you. Basically, the name of the game going through there.
A nice exit off the corner. That was something we were watching in practice. It seemed like so many slow corners, and this Nissan does not seem to like them, Nick.
Absolutely. It's all about the turbo lag that you see Malone looking a little like he wanted to take a look there for a peek around Krejcik, but all about the turbo lag here, and basically a turbo lag on top of being on a hilly turn, especially a blind corner, never a good combination because you're already struggling for grip, and then that's kind of doubled there with all of the factors going into your acceleration. And yeah, you get the loud foot syndrome. You're not generally going to work out for you here in the Nissans.
Well, he's done a good job holding it together for now. He locked him up on his way down into 4 that we saw, but has not had an opportunity to pass, which has really been the MO for most of the field so far. As we switch over to the Audis now, Riley Thompson still chasing Joni Hagner. I've seen very few changes of position, but let's see. How close are we actually to them lapping classes? Because that, I think, is when it's really going to kick off. It's like about a quarter of the track before they catch the tail end of the GTOs. So we continue to follow the lead pack. Almost kind of got a bit of a train going. Hagner leading Thompson, Rolla, Lake, and Turho all together. Those top 5, not separated by much.
Yeah, a little unlike what we saw last week at Silverstone. We just saw a chase the entire race between Thompson chasing Hagner up front, and then the rest of the field was separated many, many seconds behind them. But now we have Rolla, Lake, and Turho up here contending for those spots as well.
Back into the hairpin once again. All of them staying nice and tidy through there, but Thompson can't quite seem to get close enough. It's almost like that number 2 is just holding Riley at bay, like at arm's length.
Yeah, and we've seen that many times before in this series. Thompson just trying to chase down Hagner. But like you said, it's when the multi-class traffic, when the other Nissans come up through here and the prototypes stir this pot just a little bit, I think that's really going to be when Thompson has his best opportunities to catch Hagner off guard.
They're getting just a hint to them. I think these are the drivers that had trouble in the early laps. Michael Haynes and Ivo Andreni are 2 that they're overtaking right now. But that's only 2 of them. Again, we've got, I believe it's something in the realm of 17 GTO cars out there. When they get into the packs of 5 or 6, that is when it is all going to kick off. Oh, and McLeod had a problem. Was this involved with some of the traffic? It's in turn 2. No, this was a pass attempt from Teemu Toika coming out of the Lotus 49. He absolutely gets his elbows out and shoves McLeod out of the way.
We were talking about Teemu Toika, who... Oh, and McLeod just went around as we were saying that. Mike Kopak involved in that one as well, sent him spinning as they were going down here in the right, the sharp right-hander.
On the replay, still on board. Oof, an aggressive move from the Finn. He made it work, but I don't think he made many friends in the process.
Absolutely not, and McLeod thinks about the last couple of turns while digging himself out of the dirt right now, trying to get back on the track, and he gets going, but yeah, hectic start there, and those are just the Nissans. Just wait till we combine.
Oof, a little bit of an off track there for Stefan Schlock, who's now being hounded by Toika as well. Ooh, and he goes wide into the hairpin to top it off, but he does get the grip off the corner, and a nice defense from the Austrian. I almost wonder, though, did Toika get away from that clean? Because he could have got some damage, and that will not help his case.
I think Toika, I mean, we were talking about him earlier in qualifying. He didn't get a qualifying time in, just struggled too much in qualifying, so he didn't get a lap time in. But Toika starting really far back in 16th. That's really far back for him, especially last week's winner at Silverstone in the Nissan class. So he's really trying to fight his way up to the field, but he's got to keep it clean. I don't see too much damage there, but it's hard to tell if there's any on the front end there or not.
We ride on board with Justin Albrecht still in second, but now, ooh, look at all the time that he is losing behind Hideki Koivisto. Koivisto not doing anything wrong again. This is just traffic and how it works in the Kamel GT series. What was about a second between himself and Iamaki, Justin is now over 2 seconds behind the Finn. This is how traffic gives and takes.
Traffic's still a fair bit of ways away from the Audi leaders. The first person coming through, of course, would be Ardo Iamaki. And he is up through the uphill section right now around Dennis Neinhardt right now. So he is getting up there into the top 10 positions right now.
And look at how quickly these Nissans are slicing through these GTO cars. The GTP is producing so much more downforce, so much more power, that they just dispose of them incredibly quickly. Oh, is Albrecht having to go the long way around a few cars on the outside of the carousel. We didn't quite see it on screen as we were watching Iamaki there. They are really having to make some risky moves early on.
Absolutely. A lot of these turns here, just kind of the nature of Sonoma right now. The Nissan's trying to get through here. There's not many times a second option that's quite viable at all, as we see Iamaki close in on the top 5 Audis right now.
Riding on board the Lepisto a little bit farther down in 5th place. He got balked big time by McCullough. He's trying to chase down the likes of Fabian Gerber and Valtteri Alander. He's gotten very close a few times, but just can't quite seem to use the traffic to his advantage as they finally get a small break on their way past the front stretch up to turn 1 again. Milan Arnozzi trying his best to get out of the way. Does a good job of letting them through.
We were mentioning turns 2 and 3 and this whole section right here in the pre-show as well, Joe. It's possibly the worst place to catch other traffic just because of how many blind turns make up that section of the track there.
Watching them get by the leaders in the GTO class now, which has actually brought Phil Lake and Villy Rolla together for 3rd. Oh, and we got a car off. Mike Kopak looks like to be our first victim with a serious incident. Where is this exactly? Is this some sort of hardware failure, actually? I think it is. Coming out of 2 into 3, yeah, it just lets it kind of run into the cars. Now, Krejcik had a problem as well, and this looks to be on the drag strip. I think he had some help. Just trying to catch the car, so it was already going on him, but that was Bronislav Robanek in the yellow machine who came up behind him unexpectedly, just didn't have time to react.
Yeah, it's a tough place. You lose a lot of momentum there, and Bronislav Robanek sitting in 14th right now as he started that lap in 14th, but I guess he moved up 1 position after that, now up to 11th.
Yep, that is not a bad climb for him. Oh, cars off track all around him, and this is some of our top runners in the GTOs. Tanner McCullough, oh, who gets bumped off the track by Robanek. He collects it back together, but that all started with himself and Rob Olenek with some sort of incident, and I'm not sure what it is. It looks like it was Rob who was the first one. He just unfortunately understeers off track. Oh, so it was 2 separate incidents. You can see he's having to take evasive action, and then suddenly McCullough starts to lose the car, and then Robanek makes it worse. So 3 completely different things happening there, none of them really reliant on each other.
Yeah, it looks like Matt Malone actually was making a move on Olenek there up to the uphill section. One of those blind turns we were talking about. I think that caught Olenek off guard. It caused him to go off the track just a little bit. Olenek came back on the track to an already ill-handling Tanner McCullough, and then looks like Robanek came into that picture.
Oh, but look at this up ahead of him. This is for 8th place because that's Timu Toika just behind the car of Tobias Gerber in the thick of traffic, and that is allowing Malone to get in there. Oh! Well, he was in there. Now he's in the wall. That was Villy Rolla who he got into the side of. Severe damage on that 18.
Same turn that Malone was struggling in before in the first lap as well.
And, you know, I don't blame him for trying to take advantage of things going on there. There was a lot of traffic. So, I mean, he had to try and do something. Oh, and yeah, I mean, he gave some space to the left side to Villy. I think it's just a bit of a racing instance there. As P3 is something happened with Olander. He is now down in 5th. Let's see, we've got a replay on him. Oh, now did he lose that on his own, or was that Gerber tipping him around initially? So I'm going to take a look back myself because I had no idea that this... Looks like, well, it was a combination of things. Looks like Valtteri got a little loose, and then on the straightaway, he got a bump from Gerber because he came up on him really, really quickly. So we finally come back live. This is where it starts to look a little bit more typical for Kamel. A lot of incidents going on.
So that'll move Gerber up to 4th, still following Lepisto in 3rd. 4 seconds back now, it looks like.
Now, what happened to Hagner? When did Riley Thompson get into the lead? Because Hagner's all the way down in 8th. I'm trying to find it. Oh, this did happen recently. It was in the S's, maybe about a minute ago. He was coming up to Tony Kiernan, who was slow on the track. Let's see if we can find it. Looks like Tobias Gerber involved in this as well. Yeah, here we'll see. It's through the S's. There's a damaged Nissan, you'll see. That's him up there, Tony. He goes off track, and unfortunately it sends him back onto it.
Wow. Bad luck there for Hagner.
Well, I said it in the intro. It's a lot less about your raw speed in this series, it seems, and just more about situational awareness and assessing everything that is happening around you, which is usually a lot. Oh, and the lead is changing hands actually right now because of traffic still coming through. Is that Malone? Yes, it is. Just being a little bit of the thorn in the side of these two. That's Phil Lake, who got past Riley Thompson out of the S's through turn 10. Oh, and Malone overcooks it, and he's off the track. Let's take a look at that pass initially, then we'll watch what happened with Malone. Okay, so this started out with the number 28. Not sure who that is in the Nissan. Ooh, almost loses the car.
It's Jack Cubitt in the Nissan.
Whoa! Nearly tips around the number 13. Stays on the... What a save was that from Riley Thompson. He couldn't save the position, but he kept the car together. And how about Phil Lake taking advantage when he can? From Malone's perspective, once we watch this on board, let's come back live because the lead is trying to change hands in the GTOs once again. Just a simple turbo lag mistake there from the Illinois driver. As Riley Thompson in the thick of a bunch of Nissans. And then Auntie Terho has managed to get by Phil Lake because Phil Lake had a bad exit onto the drag strip. Now they come through the S's once more. That's Carlos Fonseca trying to collect his Nissan and stay out of the way of these guys. Auntie Terho suddenly finds himself with that number 1 car looking for the number 1 spot.
Yeah, you mentioned Terho closing in there after the drag strip. Phil Lake and Thompson actually made pretty decent contact in the carousel, it looked like. So they were both kind of drifting around there trying to save it. And it looks like Phil Lake headed to the pits now.
Yeah, you know, I suspect he might have been given a meatball. He was holding up with them fine. There's no reason I would think that he would come in for a stop unless he was absolutely being told to. So the number 8 unscheduled in his stall. But that doesn't mean the battle for the lead is over. Terho close behind Thompson, making him work hard for it.
Terho's had a pretty quiet race. He started top 5, but he's already up to 2nd, just moving up with one Audi falling off of the race, then another one falling out, and up to 2nd already with that.
Yeah, I don't remember us really calling his name except for the grid. They're trying to be passed by Ryan Lang here around the outside, but I was about to say we're not missing a whole lot up at the top of the GTPs. Lang, taking a wild way around these guys. It is relatively close in the GTPs, but there's no action at the moment. We'll jump over there. Actually, we're going to jump over there anyways. There's Artemi Amaki being chased by Albrecht around the carousel. Ryan Lang taking his sweet time trying to get by these guys. Ooh, as he almost picks the wrong side of the track to try and go by Thompson, but he is able to brake in time. This car should be able to brake much later, but it's still going to put Thompson on the outside, giving an opportunity to Auntie Terho, making it a drag race now. Auntie's going to be on the outside as it swings to the left, but if he can just hold beside him, and he cannot, he could have had the inside up to turn 2, and it was not meant to be.
Yeah, he may have just backed off a little bit going up to the S's. It's really a risky place to try to make it side by side, especially we're not even halfway through this race yet.
Absolutely. Still staying close behind on the tail of Riley Thompson. Oh, we had an incident in the GTPs in 11th, Sander Vanderwell. This looks like another turbo lag problem coming out of the hairpin. He finds the concrete.
Looks like he just got the power down a little too quickly there and couldn't quite hold it.
Sad to see. And I can report that Matt Malone, for some reason, has exited out of the server. So he seems to have had a major problem. I'm sure his fans are watching. Could let us know in the chat what exactly went down there. We've had so much going on, including this battle for the lead still going for the GTOs. Going to be interrupted by Mike Kopak, who I should note is not going to get a blue flag here. Is this going to cause chaos, Nick?
It very well might. Kopak's been involved in a couple of incidents today. He wants to get around these guys quickly. I think he's going to be able to do that easily. Well, maybe not, because Thompson's going to hold the outside, and then here comes Terho.
Oh, he almost lost the car coming through there, and now he's got to try and figure out which side to go around up through turn one. They managed to squeak through. It holds up Thompson only slightly, and Anti-Terho still can't get by.
Yeah, I'm surprised Anti-Terho wasn't able to find a lane there, but it was all because of Mike Kopak going there through turn 11, and now we have Ardo Iamaki coming through for these guys.
Iamaki thankfully will get a blue flag, so they'll be much more aware that this is a Nissan trying to come through. Kopak was on the same lap as our leaders, which is why I said that he was not going to get a blue flag for them. Meanwhile, Joni Hagner's damage seems to be too much because he has gone into the pits. Oh, look at the front of that machine. Oh, that is unsightly.
Yeah. Doesn't look like Hagner's going to make it 3 for 3 to start the season.
Certainly not, but it's a long season. It's only round 3. I think he'll be able to come back from that with the way he usually performs in this series. We've checked back in here. I know we keep focusing on this, but man, this is where the closest action is. There's not really any battles happening in the GTP class. In the GTOs, there's this. Oh, so tight there between Thompson and Lepisto trying to squeak through. There's only this battle and the battle for 5th in GTOs. It's really the only close ones. Everybody else getting spread out.
How about another quiet race here up in the Audis and the GTOs? Milan Arnozzi has made his way up into a podium position with all of these drivers falling out. He's had a great start to the season, really finished 4th at Summit Point and 6th at Silverstone.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I am incredibly impressed with Mo. Oh, Tiro and Thompson have come together. They're off track trying to get it going once again. This happened in 3 and 3A when Terho made an attempt.
Looks like Terho got up on the curbing there, which threw him off.
Yeah. An attempt was made, but it was not successful. The 13 into the wall hard. I think Terho didn't hit anything from it other than Riley's car. Yeah, you just get a fantastic run on him, and he was desperate for a chance to make a pass. So Thompson must have missed a gear. What's this one? Oh, yes, he did. The killer in the Audi is that gearbox.
Yeah.
And because of that, Milan Arnozzi is now leading. And actually, he just got himself a handy little gap because Terho had a big slide into the hairpin. I'm not sure if his car is damaged, but that was a big mistake. That actually gave second to Dennis Neidhart as well. Dennis, who usually isn't this far up in the field. Milan and Dennis just having a whale of a day.
Yeah, Neidhart, I was looking back through past results. He finished 10th at Summit Point and 7th at Silverstone. So both of these guys up here, Arnozzi and Neidhart, the underdogs, is taking P1 and 2 right now in the Audis.
So that finally allows us to have a little bit of a rest from this battle for the lead in the GTOs because those cars have separated. Let's jump down to 5th in the GTPs. Alander, who we've been watching race over here, started this thing in 3rd. Now he's sitting in 5th, and he's got Stephen Warkup on his tail, giving chase.
Alander, a driver who started up inside a podium position, fell back to 5th, and Warkup, who's had another, he's one of those drivers that's had a very quiet race, just going from 7th to 6th, and now peaking into the top 5.
You can see Alander's got a little bit of damage on the nose, and I believe we saw that incident earlier on. I think he got into the back of one of the Audis, if I'm remembering correctly. So that might be costing him some speed. Warkup seems to be holding with him. He's got it down to about a second gap up to the number 4 car. A bit of a slide coming out of the turn 2 corner, but he still holds it together. Oh, and Terho with more problems. Whatever happened to his car with that contact, it does not seem to be good. And that actually let Riley Thompson up into 5th now because of that mistake. It definitely wasn't voluntary because there was a big bobble by Ante under braking. There's something in the car just does not look like it's working as it should be.
Yeah, there's a little bit of left front damage there on that number 1 Audi, it looks like, but I'm sure there's a lot of undercarriage issues involved in that as well.
Ooh, that was actually a really good catch. We watch it on board. From my perspective, it didn't look so frightening, but he came awful close to the outside wall in that hairpin. Yeah, he is way off the pace, is Ante Terho. He's down to 6. He's got a bit of a gap back to Lundgren, but there's 14 minutes left, so there's plenty of time for him to catch him. Thompson up to 5th. He's got to catch Rob Olenek, who's now promoted himself up to 4th.
Ooh, a little bit of trouble in the prototypes. They were battling for 12th, it looks like. Jack Cubitt and Fonseca. They were battling for 12th and got into each other there after the drag strip, it looked like.
Both are still going. Cubitt running 12th, Fonseca running 13th. Let's take a look at the replay. It was a battle for position. You can see Cubitt already running with a fair bit of damage. As he locked it up unexpectedly. There you see Fonseca. And that's not our leader, I don't believe. Yeah, that's not, former leader. That's not Thompson that we were looking at, though painted the same.
That's Adam Lindgren.
See 2 Nissans suddenly slide up the inside. There's one. Well, one of them slide up the inside. There's the other. Great job by Lindgren for dealing with that. Yeah. So, we're now down to 12 minutes to go. Your leaders, if you're just joining us, Artu Iamaki up in the GTPs, Milan Arnozzi leading in the GTOs. I'm pretty certain if Arnozzi wins this, actually, I take that back. I think he may have won at least one other time in the GTOs. I'm trying to remember. But I swear I'll have to dig up my stats. I swear I remember him taking one before, but it is not often that you see this number 22 machine take the checkered flag in the Audi class.
Looks like for 2nd place in the Audis, Villarola has really closed that gap on Neidhart.
Lander's had a problem. Coming out of the carousel, I think he had maybe slight contact with Ryan Lang. If it was netcode. It was very close. You can see the 2 Nissans just maybe brushing each other. So we come back live. He does get it turned around. Didn't hit anything else on it. So Alander now down to 7th. Not been the race I think he's been hoping for. And a surprise for me in all this, Iamaki being fast, I mean, we kind of expected that. Albrecht as well, he's been good. But look at Fabian Gerber. Both he and Lepisto have not really shown themselves to be a challenge for the win that much this race, although they are catching up to Albrecht now. Whoa! I think a little bit of traffic caught Lepisto out there through turn 5.
Yeah, Tanner McCullough, they split him down the middle, including going around in the grass.
Thought he saw an opportunity. Yeah, just he... but 15 didn't know which way to go. Great job for by everybody on that. So many of these things, it might seem messy from an outsider's perspective, but my compliments whenever they manage to keep cars from wrecking, because it's almost like you have to know coming into this series that you're going to have to deal with moments like that. Oh, change for P5. Teemu Toika overtakes Steven Warkup. Or was that a defense? Oh, that was an overtake. Warkup touches those curbs exactly where you don't want to do. Watch from on board the fin. Yeehaw. Toika absolutely streams away. Just put a gap on Warkup quickly.
And that's an Audi battle they were interrupting there between Nicholas Makanos and Hideki Koivisto for 24th overall.
Boy,
which was 9th in the class.
Toika, remember, we saw there in his graphic, he did not get his qualifying time in. This has been one heck of a climb by the number 14. So we watch this battle now. Albrecht being challenged by Gerber, having gotten past Lepisto with that bit of traffic earlier on about a lap ago. Maybe I spoke too soon about Fabian here. Could be looking at a second place. I got some traffic in front of them. This is Thompson and Olenek. Oh. Albrecht gets held up. Gerber's got a little bit of a head of steam. They're coming up to the hairpin, but they've also got Justin Albrecht up, or excuse me, Yoni Hagner up ahead of them. A little bit of an attempt from Antti Lepisto trying to get by Gerber. Doesn't quite work out in the hairpin. Gerber losing ground on Albrecht now, but he finds traffic now into turn 2. Tries to stick his nose in. Oh. Turns the car of Villirola completely around.
Still lots more traffic to go as we go to the replay here of that.
Kind of wondered if that was going to happen. Rolla might not have known how aggressive he'd have to be into this corner with that 3-car fight coming up behind him. And unfortunately, I believe that lost Rolla some positions in the process. He gets going once again, but he's down to 5th now.
And he was running 3rd at the time, so that should move Olenek into 3rd place for the Audis.
And Olenek's within 2 seconds of Dennis Neidhart. Neidhart as well within 2 seconds of the leader, Arnozzi. We could yet still see those positions change. The podiums on both classes up for grabs.
Olenek right now, I think, more concerned about defending Riley Thompson, who's chasing him down right now.
And we know Riley is a hard fighter. He is going to give it his all. In fact, a little bit held offline as that is Teemu Toika causing a disadvantage for Rob Olenek. Riding on board with Riley now, the number 13, stalking Rob Olenek's number 11 car. Seven minutes to go might not sound like a lot, but we've already seen so much can happen in so little time out here.
Absolutely, and Thompson, I think right now, probably going to be his best opportunity to make a move if he can get up to Olenek, because there's no traffic around him right now, which is unusual for this race so far. So Thompson really, this might be his best opportunity to get up there, take that position, and then deal with traffic later, as you see that is Warkup coming through there.
Yeah, he cost a little bit of time to Thompson, because Thompson maybe second guessing whether or not he should track out of the carousel. He gains it under braking into the hairpin. Let's see if they've got any other traffic coming behind them. They've got Valteria Lander approaching soon. But still, like you said, incredibly rare that they've got this big of a break for the second time within one lap. And you can see Riley Thompson easily gain back what he lost in traffic. For all the big deal that we made of Riley being off pace and seasons prior, he is back on pace. He's got it in spades, but now he's just got to deal a little bit better with everything that happens around him. Granted, he did not lose these positions, I think, due to anything you could blame on him. It was an incident, maybe more of a racing incident, really, that happened between himself and Terho.
And quite a bit of traffic already, a couple of lap down Audis, and then here comes a lander through here, making it really close.
Those Nissans don't like to get on the power mid-corner. And unfortunately, Thompson was in a hurry, and that caused that Nissan of a lander to get fully turned around.
Looks like just a little bit of left front damage on Thompson, not too bad. I think he might have already had that, actually.
And a bit of an Audi sandwich there. The lander gets going once again, but he's now down to 8th spot as he continues to lose position after position.
And now Olenek has a big gap over Thompson. Of course, that might go away here over time, but they are closing in on Dennis Neidhart, though.
Yeah, and all of that, even with the battling, Rob Olenek is now 1.3 behind Neidhart. Remember, that was about 7/10 more just about a couple laps ago. Neidhart is losing ground on Arnozzi, which is great news for the number 22. I'm sure he'd love to not have to worry about that. Oh, Olenek must have missed his shift. Yeah, big time missed shift out of a horrible corner to do that in. Riding on board with Rob. Old gearbox full of neutrals, and just like that, he's a sitting duck for Thompson to move into third.
He just went around with Terho.
Oh. Ante was on a good recovery. Whoa, and they come back on track. Let's watch this replay all the way to the recovery. This is going to be Rob Olenek, you'll see.
That's Joni Hagner that was caught up in that coming back on track.
And Hagner too, yeah. Now watch this, both of them trying to come back. Oh, goodness.
Joni Hagner and Ryan Lang, the Nissan driver in that. Man.
About as graceful as a hippo and a tutu trying to come back onto the circuit here.
Definitely can't blame them for trying to come back on the circuit as fast as possible. They were still battling for position.
Yeah, but you always got to check that F3. I'm sure that's not that's gonna raise the ire of a few people. Well, we haven't checked in on our GTP leaders in a while. This is Fabian Gerber in third, but it's Ardo Iamaki who is still leading. Now, the gap is not monstrous. Justin Albrecht's kept him honest. The number 12 is about 2 seconds back from Iamaki. So that means that the traffic could yet still make this a battle for the lead, but right now the number 9 has breathing space.
Not seeing a whole lot of traffic ahead of them is the issue. There's Coivisto, but that should be no problem, just one car there, but gonna need something. There's a bit of a battle up ahead between Hagner and Mukanos, which gets sorted out pretty quickly, but a couple of those battles in the Audis might cause a little stir up here in the battle for the prototype lead.
Only 2 laps to go. Justin Albrecht is hustling. He's trying everything he can to try and both get away from Gerber and catch up to Iamaki. Fabian just will not go away. He's got himself onto the podium, but he wants more as we ride on the 007 cam of Justin.
Oh, trouble here on the drag strip that they have to get around.
That's John Keefe. The Sim Sport News car has way too much of his right foot involved.
Yeah.
In trying to find the power. Come back live. That puts John in 11th.
And look at the traffic the leaders have now.
Oof, yeah, and actually, whoa, I told you that gap could disappear. Well, it is now 2/10 between Iamaki and Albrecht as the white flag getting ready to come out. They're going to come past McCullough. Oh, and contact between McCullough and Albrecht. Off the corner, both keep the cars straight, but that is not good when you start to take away the downforce of these Nissans.
That is quite significant damage, too, on that left front of Justin Albrecht.
And yet more traffic just to complicate things. Oh, and then here comes Gerber looking at 3 wide, making contact with Justin. And in all of that, Antti Lepisto finds himself in second. We'll get back to the replay after the race. Oh, what a disappointing end to a well-fought race by the number 12.
You kind of knew going up through the S's that 3 wide was not going to work at all, especially all fighting for a position there.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is not a corner where 2 wide works out well. 3 wide certainly won't. As coming through the hairpin, this is our overall leader, Arto Iamaki. Perhaps the only one who has done well with traffic today. He's got 1 car ahead of him ready to be lapped, Martin Krejcik, but I think he's going to let him go because he's got a 3-second gap with 2 corners left, and only one of them involve braking. The number 9 of Arto Iamaki finds himself with a win here in round 3 of the Kamel GT Series as he crosses the line. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead in the GTOs is also caught up with traffic. Oh, Arnozzi wanted to turn in. That was Bronislav Robanek. Now they've got Dennis Neidhart. Robanek goes off as he loses the car. Neidhart not able to take advantage of it. Ryan Lang lets them through with Riley Thompson suddenly back in the fight for the lead.
This was probably the calmest battle on track, and all of a sudden, 3-way battle for the lead coming down through the carousel now. What can Neidhart do to set up a pass here? Or Thompson?
And we know that Thompson is the fastest of these 3. What has he got left in the car? He's had multiple incidents. He's had to work his way through. He's got to know that this is his last chance, and he's got to overtake 2 cars with half a lap. Neidhart is holding him off, and they're losing touch with Milan Arnozzi in the process. Behind them, I think Lang is just kind of letting them sort this out. He has no reason to battle him right now. He's got no car that he's fighting with. They've now got 3 corners to go through turn 10. Milan Arnozzi with a gap of about half a second. Can he pull this off? That purple machine coming up around the hairpin. He's not being challenged. All he has to do is get the clean shifts off the corner. And Milan Arnozzi takes the win here at Sonoma Raceway. Dennis Neidhart with a 2nd place, and Riley Thompson at least gets a podium salvaged after multiple incidents today. Let's take a look at the replay with Albrecht and see, try and dissect what went down here. He comes up on traffic, and he knows he's got Gerber breathing down his neck. He's got to do something. Gerber thinks he's got to do something. That makes it 3 wide. Tips into him. Look at the amount of space that Lepisto had to deal with.
Absolutely no space there at all.
Can we get a blimp view of that? This is going to watch from on board. A piece of paper space to just sneak by. Unreal. Wow. All right, that's going to close things up here for round 3, but the broadcast is not over. We've got the unofficial results, or the official results, I should say, waiting for you after this, as well as driver interviews. On screen, we're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC, so don't go away. Welcome back to Sonoma Raceway. We just watched round 3 in the Kamel GT series here on the iRacing Esports Network. Last week, I joked about the Finnish curse. Well, I think they broke it this week. Arto Yamaki managed to get first, and he was followed home by his fellow Finn, Antti Lepisto, in second. A little bit of luck taking him from 6th on the grid. Then we go back to Fabian Gerber. The DAS driver rounds out the podium. He, of course, was involved in that contact on the last lap as well. Teemu Toika goes from 16th to 4th. Now, unfortunately, Justin Albrecht, because of that contact, had to limp home and wound up with 5th after he was holding down 2nd pretty much all race long. Stephen Warkup, nice job from him, going from 7th to 6th. And then Tobias Gerber getting 7th himself. Valtteri Alander's got some work to do. He finishes in 8th today. Martin Krejcik takes 9th with Bronislav Robanek getting the top 10. John Keefe, the first driver a lap down here in the GTPs. He finishes 11th with Jack Cubitt in 12th. Carlos Fonseca had a bit of a fight with him in the middle of the race. He finishes 13th. Clayton McLeod 14th. Ryan Lang as well a lap down, finishing 15th. What about the GTO class, Nick?
Crazy race here in both classes, but Milan Arnozzi coming home with the win in the GTOs. That's 16th overall, which is first place in the GTOs. And second place and third place, the podium positions in Audi, going to Dennis Neidhart and Riley Thompson. We saw them battling there at the end. Ville Rolla, what a roller coaster of a race for him. He's going to wind up 4th place in the Audis. Rob Olenek, fairly quiet race compared to everyone else, but still hectic, finishing 5th place in that class. Antti Terho fought his way back up to 6th place. Tanner McCullough, despite being involved in multiple incidents, he's going to be 7th place. And then Nicholas Makanos, Adam Lindgren, Hideki Koivisto going to steal a top 10 in the Audis. Lori Mantavara, it's going to move up from 34th to 26th overall. That's 11th overall in the Audis. Miki Kivipura going to be behind them. Ivo Andreni, Michael Haynes, Phil Lake going to be their 30th overall, 3rd to last in the Audis. Yoni Hagner couldn't get it going for him today, and Nathan Lloyd rounding out your field of Audis today.
Mike Kopak, Sander Vanderwell, Matt Malone, Stefan Schlocker, Tony Kernan, and Sebastian Beaudry also DNFs today over in the GTP class. First up, we don't have any of our winners here, but we have one who was leading for a while. Riley Thompson joins us. Riley, you were kind of up and down the top 5 and a bit all over the place, but let's skip ahead to the last lap, and suddenly you find yourself within reaching distance of the lead. Did you think you could maybe get 2 cars in that single lap?
I think it was at least possible to get 1, but I think they had enough of a good lap in that second half to where they were able to get away from me.
Did you have a chance to go back and look at the incident with Antti Terho coming into turn 3? Obviously, he got into the side of you, but that was facilitated a little bit by you missing a gear shift. Are there any ill feelings after that?
Not really, no. He already apologized, and I can definitely see why he would.
Something must have happened to Riley's mic. Not hearing it right now.
But yeah, I don't really blame him, to be honest. I mean, if I was in that position, I definitely probably wait a little bit longer, but he apologized, and I was able to get back up to 3rd, so I'm definitely not too mad about it.
To this, were you wary coming into this race, knowing that this is very difficult in a multi-class setting, or what were your feelings as you got on the grid?
It honestly wasn't too bad. We were talking a little bit of adventure on the grid, so it wasn't tense at all. But yeah, after yesterday's race before this, it definitely didn't seem as bad as today.
Well, still managed a podium today. Best of luck when we hopefully see it in a week's time. And great race out there today, having to come back from multiple setbacks. That was Riley Thompson. Apologies there for me breaking in. Had some problems on my end. But in the meantime, Nick has caught up with 4th place finisher in the GTPs, Teemu Toika.
I have, and we were talking before the race started. Teemu Toika had a wrecked out of Summit Point, had a very good run, obviously, at Silverstone, came back to take the win there. And we didn't really know what to expect today, not being able to get a qualifying lap time in. But Teemu, 4th place from 16th. How'd you do that?
I tried to drive my own race, and obviously the other people's misfortune helped a bit. But yeah, I wasn't that comfortable in the this week at Sonoma, so I kind of started off with low expectations, and yeah, in the qualifying, I just I took an off track both laps, and yeah, that was that. And then I just, in the first few laps, I tried to be as aggressive as I could before we got up to the GTOs, because I knew after that it would be just pointless to be aggressive. So if I wanted to make an impact, it would have to be in the first few laps.
Absolutely. And the first few laps, along with the whole race, were just crazy hectic. Did you find a lot of trouble? I'm sure everyone did to some extent. Did you find a lot of trouble coming over all the blind turns, not knowing really how close there'd be an Audi or maybe a slower Nissan in front of you? Just dealing with lap traffic on an all-new level here, multi-class racing?
Not really that much. There was some issues. To be honest, that like on the last lap, coming over to, is it turn 3? I saw I heard my spotter say that there was a slow car, and it was the last lap, so I had to push, and luckily there was nobody on the apex there. But yeah, that could have been lethal if the track had been blocked.
Yeah, so you said you weren't super comfortable coming into Sonoma. How about next week, 60 minutes at Detroit? How's that going to go for you?
Oh, I'm more than fine there. I think I qualified pole there when we last time went there. So I'm probably going to practice a lot for that, and hopefully I'll be able to come back.
All right, that's Teemu Toika there. Definitely going to be a good one to tune into next week. He's looking to rebound for a podium finish. Joe, I believe you've caught up with another driver.
Yep, and another one on the podium, Fabian Gerber.
Hello.
Although, hey, Fabian, I'm sure you had your doubts on if you'd finish there even on the last lap. Tell us about that 3 wide moment with you and Lepisto and Albrecht.
In the last lap, yes, that was very confusing situation. I was actually waiting behind Justin, and he opened up, sort of, not really, but didn't go, and I didn't know where to go. So I went to the right, looking what's happening, if I have a gap to go in, whatever. But I wasn't fast. But at the right at this moment, he decided to go there as well. So he pushed me away, and Antti could go around us, and he lost a couple of positions, and I ended up third again. No matter what happened in this race, I ended up third.
Now, I have to imagine that these each time you come to these tracks, there's got to be something that you learn. Did you take anything away from today's race that you didn't quite know or pick up from previous times that you guys came to Sonoma?
It's difficult to say. It's just a very different track. For me, it's difficult to say. You learn how to learn the car better, of course, because it's a very different track. And I learned maybe a bit to go around fast curves on the outside line to overtake Audis, etc. Make fast decisions. I didn't even check my fuel tonight. I can't tell you how stressful this race was. It's not much you can get away with. I don't know. I'm still confused.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I was going to say, I can't imagine there's any races in Kamel ever that aren't stressful, but congratulations on a podium. Like you said, whatever the case, that's where you come home today. And hopefully we'll get to see you in Detroit with maybe things a little cleaner.
I'll be there for sure. Thank you very much.
All right. That was Fabian Gerber, third here today. And then we've got fifth place, I believe it is, in the GTOs. Rob, ready to talk into Nick.
Hey, guys.
Hello, Rob. What a race that was. quite a hectic set of last couple of laps. So it looks like you missed a shift, we think.
I think I missed about 25 shifts. My, I don't know what happened, but some USB stuff, like everything was acting really weird. My car was all over the place. I couldn't even control it barely. And then I just had to find and disconnect it and reconnect it. And when that happened, I'm sorry to Auntie Taro. That definitely wasn't his fault, even though he's trying to apologize for me. I mean, I couldn't control where my car was going.
Yeah, so we were watching you battle there with Riley Thompson for a podium position. Talk about all of the multi-class racing and just how hectic it got on track at times, dealing with the other Nissans coming through.
Yeah, it's a different track. I don't mind it here. There's other tracks where it gets hectic as well, where it just seems like there's a lot better chance for accidents. Here, it seems that you can easily kind of see what they're doing. Like some of the tougher corners are slower, and you just can hold off. And if you're really patient, I didn't get any practice in this week. Getting a top 5 would have been amazing to me. So I was just saying, you know what? There's a good chance there's a lot of carnage. I'm just going to drive safe and let guys go. And it was working for a long time until equipment didn't work. But
yeah, pretty fun track here at Sonoma. We were watching just an amazing race. How do you feel about another track, though? Let's say Belle Isle, where we'll go for an hour-long race next week.
I love that track. I don't know. It seems like some other people don't, but that track's a lot of fun. We've raced there one other time. I think it actually went better than people were expecting, even though it's also tight. But it's a really fun track. I love street courses. I love that you hit a wall if you make a mistake. So it's it's a little more tense. Hard to pass too.
Yeah, everyone this afternoon we've talked to seems pretty excited about that next race. We definitely all are here at GSRC. It's going to be a good one to watch.
Yeah. All right, thanks, guys.
That was our 5th place finisher, Rob Olenek. We've got a driver who finished, I believe, 9th in class, Adam Lindgren. Good to get the mid-pack perspective. And Adam, we saw a lot of battling for position up ahead of you, but it seemed like anytime we saw you, it was cars battling around you. It almost feels like you were having to deal with everybody else doing their own thing and just run your own race.
Yeah, it was pretty stressful, but considering that this was my first race in the Kamel series and in GTU, I felt like the 9th place was a pretty good finish considering my starting place of 11th.
Yeah, any gain of positions is always a positive. We've been talking about drivers and their feelings going forward to Detroit. Obviously, the big difference between here and there is the walls being so close. Does that instill any sort of fear in you, or you've just treat it like any other track?
I mean, it's a little terrifying because of how much these Audis push out of the corners, but at the same time, the torque from the Audis and the 4-wheel drive really helps you get it righted and get it going straight. What I'm most stressed about is the closing speed of the GTPs and how they're going to close on us in the braking zones, and we both have really good power out of the corners, so I think it's going to be, you're going to see a lot of rear endings in Detroit more than you'll see people into the wall, I think.
Well, we hope we don't get too many car-to-car contact, never too much fun, but anybody you'd like to thank or shout out since we've got you a little bit of screen time here?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to my team, Total Downforce Racing. Steven and Riley were racing with me in this race, and they've always been great coaches. And I'd like to shout out to Black Box and their support of our endeavor as well. And I'm looking forward to the next race.
Oh, we are too. That was Adam Lindgren, 9th place finisher here today in the GTO class. And we're going to wrap up even actually for the day here for GSRC. We've got our morning done. We've got only one more broadcast to go, believe it or not, in 2018. And then we switch over the year. Big thank you goes out to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. As well, a big thank you to the iRacing Esports Network for putting us on for another season. Yet again, this has proved one of the most exciting series we cover here on GSRC. Thanks go out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware that we use here on GSRC for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Amjed, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Head on over to our YouTube page here on GSRC as well, separate here from IESN. We also have a big red button that says subscribe. Click that and you won't miss a moment on the GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, we're heading out to Michigan. That'll be Saturday, January 5th here for the Kamel GT series. They'll kick off at noon Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.